Hey guys, Terry here. I wanted to make a video about Kiwi Lane versus Creative Memories little edge cutter here. I'll have to look up what this is called. But this here is the old Creative Memories. You put your blade in here and you can cut the paper and you can make a curvy piece or a slightly curvy piece or a straight edge. So I'm going to show using this, and I'm going to talk about, I don't know when that was. I mean, Creative Memories has been around for years, and then Kiwi Lane is a newer way of doing that. So I want to show you using pattern paper, and then using these two systems to make a layout. Okay, so I have a couple of sheets of coordinating paper, and my Kiwi Lane templates, and the Creative Memories curvy cutter, I think it was called. This was a couple different ways. I think this was the oldest one. These you put the blade on and cut along here, and these blades came in different sizes. The red blade was very close to the edge, and then next was the green, and then next was the blue. So you could cut a little bit further away. So in other words, you could make one size cut that way, and then do the blue, which would be a little bit increased in size, like another 1/4 inch, and then that way the two pieces would be layered. They'd be the same shape, and you could put them beside each other. So it had these different blades. So we'll just use the green one for this evening, but that was their system, that you could have 3 different sizes per curve there. So my Kiwi Lane, I keep in just one of these little toolboxes, and I have some of the little card sets. These are smaller, made for card size, and then these are the templates for Kiwi Lane. So what I did was I made a copy of the Kiwi Lane just on some plastic, heavy plastic, and I cut them and traced them, and then I drew kind of on a piece of paper what they look like. So if you have the real Kiwi Lane, they look like this. They are kind of a white, they're like this. Now I think the newer ones, they stopped putting the little rivet in here so that you could put them in a ring binder and have them together. Each different Kiwi Lane set has different shapes, and then they're named, and then there's different ones that coordinate together. So, and then when you buy them, they come with the little card that shows what they look like, and then some samples. So that's what the real ones look like. Mine are just a copy, but I wanted to show you how this idea would work. So you find ones that would be the curves that you want, like here's Abbey Road, 2B, and there's a 1B. So the idea behind Kiwi Lane is, can you see that on there? So here's the shapes. Here's the shapes. These two, oh, I need the 1A. Hold on here. Sorry about that. It's been a while since I did this. Okay, so Kiwi Lane. The idea is that you have the A and the B to whatever set you have. This is Abbey Road. Abbey Lane, that's funny. So then you, trying to find a pencil. The idea is that you start on one end of your paper and you draw this pencil line on your paper, and then you put the other one up against it, and you make a tick mark. You don't have to trace all the way across there because you're going to cut a straight line. So you take your scissors. Let me cut my straight line first. I'm just putting it in my guillotine cutter and cutting on that tick mark. So that was my straight line. And now I am fussy cutting on that curved line. Now, this leaves the pencil line is on there. You can either erase it, or their way of quickly getting rid of the pencil mark is that you take ink and put along the edge, and you ink along the edge, and that just adds some dimension to the paper too. So you can see the idea here is that we cut that piece of paper apart, and now I've got all kinds of different combinations I can do with this so that I can layer them on my page. Now I would have cut 2 sets of these, so I can either use this side, and if I had my scrapbook page here, I'll just use it like this. Say this was my scrapbook page. I can either have a solid background or a printed color, and then I can lay my pieces. Now you would use coordinating colors, so for example, it would look like that. So imagine it on a white piece of paper. Let me get a white piece out. Or a cream piece. Okay, so this would be the idea, is that you would put it, now using that cream colored, I'd probably put the dark one on the back. But the idea is that you're finding a pretty piece of paper that you like. I mean, how many pieces of paper do we have that are color coordinated in that line of paper? And then you just want to add a little something on the sides of your paper. Okay, so I could do it on the side, and then over on this other page, because I would cut 2 sets, I would have one over here. Or if you wanted to have it run on the bottom of your page, it's made to, if this was your pages, it's made, these A and B sections are made to have the curves so that they match on that side. So you could have it along the bottom, you could have it along the top, you could have it on either side of your paper, and you can layer them. And you kind of layer them whichever way you like the way the curves fall. So some of them are bracket shaped, some of them are curve shaped, some of them are zigzagged. But that they all stem from cutting that piece of paper. And then what they've thought about is how deep they need to be so that you can layer them. Okay. So it's a really nice system. You can see how flexible this is. I mean, you can't lay it the wrong way. And then depending on if you wanted it to continue on the page, it would connect like that. So then you could make this be one color of paper, and then get out another template and use a different one on the back of this. And they make them clear, they make them that whitish color, so that you can kind of lay it on your papers and decide how you want your page to look. If these curves would match with these, and make a layered look. So that's Kiwi Lane. They've thought about these, and they're all the time coming out with new sets, and it's just a great idea for pattern paper. So now let me show you the Creative Memory. This was years ago, and I think this is where Creative Memory was trying to go with that. But I think Kiwi Lane came along with, I don't know if the timing was right, where we were all getting frustrated with our electronic cutting systems, but Creative Memories is actually who came up with this first. the idea is that you have your cutting mat, and then you have your cutter, and this goes just along there so you can keep it straight. And then I can use my cutter, and I can decide how deep to make this. So that was something that you had to figure out too, whereas Kiwi Lane has, you know, kind of decided that for you, so that you're always cutting them and they are in proportion, so that some of the other pattern paper shows behind the other one. So I'm just going to make a couple quick cuts here to show you how this works. You put it on your cutting mat. You can decide how big a piece you want, you know, whether you want it narrow or bigger. It's usually good to make it a couple inches, and then you've got the flexibility of flipping it. But the idea is you put these nubs here in the track, and the blade is on the outside. The blade is going to travel on the outside, and it's doing the cutting for you, so I don't have to trace. I just go along. It's been a while since I used this, but the idea is you're letting it go in the track, and then it's cutting, that blade is cutting your paper. So let's see if I got it all. There's a couple pieces that are, I'll just pull it off here, but you get the idea. You go along that track, and then there's your curvy piece. So see that? So I didn't have to do it with the pencil and then cut it. That blade let me do that. And like I said, if I would use the blue blade, we'll just do one real quick here. If I do the blue one, I'll keep my paper the same direction. Come on. Put it on there, and I'll do the blue one. So the blue one is a little bit wider, and that's on here. And you know, they don't sell this anymore, but you can find them on eBay and garage sales and all kinds of places. If you search for Creative Memory curvy cutter, there was another one that was more like a paper cutter, where this was attached to the cutter and you didn't have to use this mat. It just has a blade on it. Okay, so now I've cut that with the blue. So the difference between the blue and the green is just a little bit of distance there. The red one's even smaller. But now the idea is that I have cut that and it proportionally, I'll flip this over, fits right inside there because this one was a little bit bigger. If you had cut two of the same, they just wouldn't be, this one's just a little bit wider. Okay, so that's the idea. So the idea would be, just like Kiwi Lane, you're putting it on this side, or you're putting it across the bottoms or across the tops. But that's the idea there. So now what I didn't show was this second curve. So just like Kiwi Lane having that variety of curves, cut this off here. Start with a straight edge again. So I did my two first examples on this curve here, but just like with Kiwi Lane, if you want to do ones that are two different shapes, they've got the slightly curved one here. So we cut that little piece off, and now we have this piece. So if I chop this off, make it be a couple inches tall, I now have a coordinating piece that goes behind that one. So again, you might want to have your dark piece so there's more contrasting. But that's why when I saw Kiwi Lane come out, I thought, wait a minute, Creative Memories used to have this. So I found this one on eBay, and I think I paid maybe $11 or $12 for it. But I thought I would rather, I'd get the Kiwi Lane system that you're layering pattern paper, and I didn't want to ink it, I didn't want to get my pencil out and cut it manually. I wanted to have this. So I'll try to find links to this one and then the newer one. The newer one works like a paper cutter. You lift this up and it's got a blade on it. They both work equally well. This one stores nicely. But that's the idea. You cut these pieces, do your layout, make it be the shapes that you want, the colors that you want, and then you're arranging your pictures on here. And then you're also putting, like, you're putting a title on here or some embellishments. They've got embellishments for Kiwi Lane now that are, you know, a flower or a sunburst or a bird, and just nice simple shapes. You also could get just these border pieces and then cut that other design on your Cricut machine if you wanted to get the electronic cutting machine out. So that's just a good introduction to Kiwi Lane and Creative Memories cutters. So thanks, guys.